Let's read some Glitch in the Matrix stories, part 49. This is something I've struggled to talk about for a long time because I don't even really know what to think about it myself. I was 14, and shortly after my parents' divorce, my dad got his own house. It was a blue house, kind of run down because he got it for pretty cheap, and surrounded by fields and woods, no neighbors anywhere. Me and my sister were really excited because we got our own rooms and we got to spend time with my dad, who we hadn't seen in a long time. But it was a long drive and the closest town was 40 minutes away at best. Looking back, everything was kind of strange in that house, but we were just so excited to be there that we never really thought about it. For example, maybe about half a mile behind the house in the woods, there was a little cemetery. No names or anything, just little cross headstones. No thank you. We decided it was probably the last owner's pets or something, but it got weirder from there. A little bit further out was a shack-looking thing. A tin building that clearly hadn't been used in years. We couldn't get it open, and both of us, for whatever reason, decided we didn't want to tell my dad about it. Either way, we go inside and forget about it for the night. I don't know how. Watch a few movies with my dad, and then we finally go back to our rooms, and I end up going into my sister's bedroom late at night and asking her about the shack. We were terrified of going out to look at it at night because our dad might hear. That's why you're scared, because your dad might hear you, not because it's the middle of the night? We were terrified of going out to look at it at night because our dad might hear us leave, but since my dad's room was upstairs, we thought we could get away with it, so we did. We both had flashlights. Mine was one of those that you had to crank and it stays on for however long you crank it. Hers was a regular battery one. They were working fine until we passed through the little pet cemetery. Turn around. Hers started flickering and mine was working, but it would only turn on for a few seconds at a time and it was losing power. I think about how we should have gone back right then all the time, but we didn't. I don't know what compelled us to keep going. Me either. We made it back to the shack. Before, when we looked at it in the daytime, the door was completely wedged shut. We had pulled on it, tried to pry it open with our hands, used our feet. It was not budging whatsoever. This time, when we tugged on it, the door swung right open. That was another thing that should have sent us running back right then. Again, we didn't. I still don't know why. Inside of the shack, it was complete black. Our flashlights were barely working at this point, but I went inside. I told her to stay at the door in case... Why are you going inside? I told her to stay at the door in case there were any animals in there or something. Animals, that's what I'm worried about. I cranked my flashlight constantly because otherwise it wouldn't stay on for half a second at the most. The weirdest thing about it was that nothing was being illuminated by the light. It just shone into the darkness like I was surrounded by a void. I kept looking behind me at the door where my sister was. She was shining her flashlight inside at me, but the light wasn't hitting me either. She started to get nervous and she said she couldn't see me and kept telling me to please come out. Something compelled me to keep walking forward until I could find the back wall, but I never could. Why? It felt like I walked for a mile without ever hitting a wall. The shack from the outside was probably the size of a walk-in closet. There's no way it should have kept going like that, and every time I turned around, my sister's light was getting farther away. I finally turned around and ran back to the door after it dawned on me that this made absolutely no sense. I couldn't see the ground, the walls, or anything, just the door. I ran for a long time to finally get to my sister, and we slammed the door shut. I don't really remember much from that point on besides getting back into the house, panting, and trying not to wake up my dad. It's important to note that when we left, the clock was at 11:30 something. When we got back in, it was only 11:40. We had been gone for what felt like hours. There was literally no way we walked all the way down into the woods, and it only took us 10 minutes. The next day, we finally decided to come clean about the shack to my dad. We didn't tell him that we snuck out into the middle of the night, but we convinced him to go with us into the woods to find it. It was gone. The cemetery was also gone. There was nothing in the woods behind that house but trees. Nothing I told my dad could convince him that there had been a building and a cemetery there, and he wouldn't reach out to the previous owners to ask about it. I still think about that sometimes. He's moved into a different house with my stepmom now, and anytime I bring it up to my sister, she has no recollection of it ever happening. What?